Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, hello. Please make sure to subscribe on your way in. For those of you who are not new here, hi, welcome back. How are you? Now, before we jump into part 2 here, I want to address something that's been on my mind since the release of part 1. I noticed a lot of you were quick to jump to conclusions and even throw some shade my way about the direction of that interview. I mean, let's be real. People had the assumption that just because Vanessa was in the interview, it would only be about her reality TV past, and I get that expectation. Trust me, I do. But if you actually took the time to read the YouTube description in part 1, you'd seen that we clearly laid out what we were discussing, which was mainly focusing on her personal life after reality TV and what she's up to now. The whole point was to bring something fresh, something that hasn't been done to death. So, if you're ready for a deeper dive into the chaos of reality, I do want to set the expectation that this part 2 might disappoint some of you, and that's okay. When I asked Vanessa about her reality TV days, including questions about Rock of Love and Daisy of Love, she honestly didn't seem too thrilled. Her tone was condescending at one point. Was the show scripted?
There is a sense of it has to be like a way of like making sense of what's going on. You can't just like take a bunch of people and be like, just do whatever you want. The reality TV show is, here's the premise. You fall in love with a bunch of people and then that's it. You know, there's one person, that's me, I'm Daisy, and there's 20 guys, and the goal is that you're gonna at the end of the day, one person is gonna fall in love with Daisy. That's it. So that means that it's unscripted. There's no dialogue. That means that me and you are talking normal, but the goal of your goal is to get the information out of it. This is an unscripted interview. We're having an interview right now. It's unscripted. Do you see the difference?
And I could tell she wasn't entertained by my questions. She just didn't seem interested in rehashing the same topics that she's likely been asked about a million times over the past 14 to 15 years. I'll even be showing visual comparisons between her answering my questions and how she responded to the same questions in other interviews.
How much of the show was part of it scripted? How much of it is what I'm seeing from a lot of the fans here.
I don't want to like give away all the secrets, you know, like I feel like I don't want to ruin the, you know, TV magic for everybody, but you have to have a certain sort of outline and sort of you know, tiny bit of a script of like, this is how you want it to go. This is my maybe these words might help, you know, sort of propel the story. So they might feed you a line, maybe, because they need to create, you know, what they're after content, or otherwise it could be just a bunch of nonsense, you know. So they have to keep it like in a square, you know, but it's still as like being like, you know, a non-scripted thing, because it's like you go in, you just act, you know, you just do, you don't have any there's no real rules, there's no, except, you know, you don't talk to the cameraman obviously, but like, yeah, you don't break the fourth wall, and but if things, you know, but that's the part of also why, you know, you're locked away, you don't have access to your phone, you don't have any access to anything, you know, for you know, non-disclosure parts, but also because it keeps you like, it really gets you in a mindset of like, this shit is just all about Brett Michael. Like, I'm living in here for Brett. So
you see the difference? Was there, out of all the contestants, like, who did you see as your biggest competition and why?
I don't compete with people. I didn't have I was on the TV show. I wasn't competing with anybody. There was no competition. I don't compete with people in life.
Okay.
I was there to do a job.
Sorry, you were saying.
I can only imagine how ridiculous, like, the drama and just, you know, I mean, you put a bunch of girls together in competition for one man, like, you know.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
like, honestly, the whole time I was having like the biggest anxiety, like confusion of like, is this real or is this fake? Like, I'm like, there's no way this is real. I know it's not, but if it's not, I had a kind of a motive. And even, you know, the producers would even come out and be like, you know, you guys better be telling, you know, really like Brett, because, you know, the world, America will not like you. And I was like, it was so stressful. I was like, oh my God, like, very serious. But it was fun. It was amazing. It was like
I'm sure it was fun.
one of the best experiences of my entire life.
Okay, so that brings us to our last person to talk about for this, Bret Michaels. So everyone wants to know, did you actually like him, or?
I didn't have any type of impression of Bret Michaels in particular. I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with him, so I didn't have much of a moment to make an impression of him. All I know is that he was a mysterious person who was famous, and that was the point, is that they built a mystique around him because there wasn't much time to get to know him.
What was your first impression of Bret Michaels when you met him, and how did your feelings toward him evolve after the show ended?
Of course I liked him as a person, and, you know, I wasn't somebody who had, to be honest, like, I wasn't like, oh my god, but, you know, I'm not gonna complain if Bret Michaels wanted me to be his girlfriend. I'm not gonna be like, you know, but, and then, you know, whatever, you know, chemistry is a weird thing, so, you know, but I don't have any negative things about it. I don't really have any, I'm kind of like neutral about the situation, you know. I don't really, it's sort of just like, you know, he's a really nice guy, very fun to work with, very talented man, and I'm very grateful to be a part of his life and his journey and his, you know, his thing. And if it wasn't for him and all that, then, you know, I would never exist in the first place. So, you know, I'm very grateful to have had that experience.
Honestly, I can't blame her. If I were in her shoes addressing the same questions for over a decade, I'd probably be over it too. That's why I decided to switch things up and talk to her about actual passions and interests today, like Tim Burton, Mazzy Star, her dog Faith, her upcoming projects, and even her friendship with Corey Feldman. If you're strictly here for the Rock of Love nostalgia, there are plenty of interviews out there for you to check out, but that's not what I'm aiming for. Now, speaking of feedback, I had some haters come at me hard. People like Lynn, a YouTuber who does commentary and reacts to these old reality shows, were quick to throw out their opinions. But honestly, just like the rest of them, they were mostly projecting their own issues and expectations onto the interview. They kept treating me like I'm supposed to be some kind of professional journalist, which I never claimed to be. It seemed like a lot of them were just upset that the interview wasn't all about the drama that they were hoping for. And it's funny because the second I responded to these criticisms in the comments, they all suddenly went silent, hiding behind their keyboards as usual. Also, I have to address the comments accusing me of exploiting Vanessa. Let's clear this up. There's no exploitation happening here. I don't gain anything financially from this interview. And I'm definitely not paying Vanessa, and nor is she paying me. The editing, production, and all of this content comes out of my own time and effort. Plus, I'm not even monetized on my platforms, so there's literally no financial benefit on my end at all. Meanwhile, since our interview, Vanessa has actually gained over 2,000 new followers on her Instagram channel, which is her main channel. So if anyone's benefiting, it's her, and I'm really genuinely happy for her. I'm here to create something different, something that hasn't been done to death. And if that means not fitting into the standard mold, then so be it. I also need to mention how Vanessa accused me of asking the same question twice during our chat. Okay, sorry, to make sure I heard you correctly, you didn't pick out some of those names.
No, I think we discussed that last time.
Sorry, I can't recall asking this question. But good to know. Was the show scripted?
I think I've answered that question even last time, and there is a sense of it has to be.
She was so sure of it that I had to reassure her, stop and say. And I did want to clarify, just so that you don't think I'm wasting your time, I swear to you, I didn't ask any questions regarding to the shows, if it was scripted, nothing like that. I'd be more than happy to send you copies of the questions. The previous interview, and the reason why I think people couldn't handle it so much, was a deep dive into your personal life. I get it. After all the interviews she's done over the years, it's easy to get confused. But I made sure to keep things fresh and non-repetitive, so I won't go through those part 1 questions here again. So feel free to watch part 1 for yourself and tell me if you spot any repeats. But trust me, I was very careful to make them distinct. Now let's address something else. There's been a lot of talk about Vanessa's sobriety on top of the other commentary and feedback. In part 1 of our interview, she mentioned that she was 6 months sober, and I'm rooting for her. truly. But here's the twist. Isn't it interesting that Tom Brooks and his wife reported her stalking them about 6 months ago? There's even that TMZ video where she's outside their apartment complex looking distressed. Vanessa later claims that she mistook Tom and his wife for Tom Cruise's security during a mental health breaker episode. If anything, I hope future interviewers dive into that side of her story, her journey, her struggles, and give her a chance to clear things up. Maybe even ask her directly about that TMZ incident and let her set the record straight. To be honest, if I'd known about this whole situation prior with her and Tom Brooke before this interview, before part one, before part two, I might have thought twice about filming with her. Knowing what I know now, I can understand why some people said that my interview felt off. Not because of exploitation, but because of the uncomfortable reality of watching Vanessa face her truth. I genuinely hope Vanessa continues to fight for her sobriety and wish her the best on that journey. All in all, my goal with this interview was to branch away from the same old reality TV questions and to show Vanessa for who she really is. I hope future interviewers will do the same, dig deeper, get real, and give her a chance to be more than just a reality TV persona. I'm rooting for her to keep moving forward, and I'll always be here to support that growth. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and please enjoy part two. And even now, asking questions about the show and stuff, I have to be honest with you. The reason why I asked those specific questions in the first interview was because I really didn't want to do a redundant interview of things that you've already answered that can be available on other platforms. So I really just want to jump to some questions I think you would actually enjoy. And I'm just going to go straight to that because I had a couple other ones for the show. But again, I do think that's available with many other people you've connected with. So my next question, diving into you and you as Vanessa today, you were a part of the upcoming project Battleborn set for 2025, where you play the role of a server. Can you tell me more about the project and your involvement? I also saw on Instagram that you attended like a table reading. What was that experience like?
Those are like little projects that, in this year that are, in 2024, earlier this year that I didn't in my life that I didn't finish because my life took a different turn. So that's really all I can
Okay.
say.
My apologies. When I looked it up, it hadn't updated any of the credits or anything like that. So I just wanted to see if it was still relevant. Another one, and then maybe you can help correct this as well, since this was also available on IMDb and other sources, is you were credited as playing Daisy in the movie Text, but I didn't see you in the final cut or the credits. I also watched the movie just to ensure I didn't miss anything. Could you share what happened with that role and whether your scene might have been cut or if there's another reason for the listing?
I really don't know. I don't go on IMDb. Sometimes IMDb has incorrect information.
Okay. One I do know for sure and was able to find you in this film was the movie Hicks in 2011. What was it like being part of a project with such a high profile cast, including Blake Lively and Eddie Redmayne? Even though you were just the ensemble, I wanted to get an insight on your experience.
That was an amazing experience. That was my first being on the first time I was ever on a movie set. Being on a movie set and being in or a part of a movie is very, very, very difficult. It's very tedious. I spent most of the time writing my album because I was getting ready to go on tour. And Andrea Portez and her family are very very close to me, and she's a wonderful person, and being able to watch those actors at their level, Chloe Moretz and Juliette Lewis, who was part of that movie, and Eddie Redmayne, who went on to win, Oscars and stuff like that. That was a really fun time. They filmed the movie in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I was very, very excited. That was a dream come true because I was really more focused on putting music together, and I was really grateful to be a part of that. And it taught me a lot about seeing what it's like to be on a movie set. It was very surreal, and I was dating one of the producers who I ended up that was we had a very long relationship for a long time, but I decided that I didn't really want to make movies after that. I
Okay.
saw how difficult it was, and I just really didn't. I like it. I like it. I'd rather be like behind the scenes, um maybe like directing or writing movies, but not, I don't know, being an actress or being an actor, it's very, very difficult. It's a lot of work. And I'd rather be on stage doing music. You know, I love acting. I always thought I wanted to be an actress, but it's not an easy job. It's very boring. Very, very boring. It's very a lot of downtime. And honestly, the first time I was when I was getting ready to go on set to my own part, I got so frightened that I threw up.
Oh
And
goodness.
I threw up, and I said, I don't want to do this. And
Oh
I was so nervous I threw up.
oh
And I
man.
was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. And my boyfriend at the time yelled at me. He was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry." I don't want to do this actually. And he was just like, he was like so mad at me. But I was horribly, horribly, I had a horrible stage fright. And I just decided I didn't really want to, and I love the arts. The arts are my passion, and I love being behind the scenes and like, being on the set and everything. But I don't know, as far as acting goes, it's very difficult. It's very boring. It's very time consuming. And because you're mostly just waiting for everybody to set up. A lot of downtime. A lot of, it's very slow. It's very fascinating, but I'd rather spend my time being on tour, writing music, and performing, and doing that because that's what I know more. And being in front of the camera is very difficult. You have to be very slow. You have to be very particular, and I don't know that back then. That was in 2011, and it's a very difficult job. So that's all I know. That's all I know about it. I don't know. Other than that, I don't know much about it. That was a long time ago.
No, totally. And so what would you say is your overall takeaway from your time on the set of Hick, even in a background role?
I have no clue about acting. I thought I knew, I thought I could be the world's best actress. And that moment when I threw up in the trailer, I was like, holy crap. I was so embarrassed, and then I knew that I knew nothing about acting, and that I thought it was the most boring thing in the entire world. But I still loved it, and I still wanted to do that. But then I knew much more about music, and I had a lot more control over how to do that than I did about acting, and that I really had a lot more respect for actors because it's horrible, terribly boring.
Got you. Yeah, when
And
you
I'm a fast-paced person, and in that time period, I was very, I was doing, I was very fast. I'm very fast-paced, very like I want things done now and the satisfactory of now. And in acting, it's very slow. You're like, I'm like, this is utterly boring. But that was a passion that I've had my entire life. And when I finally stepped onto a movie set, I was just like, oh Jesus Christ, part of my language. I was just like,
Oh,
good
you're
Lord.
good.
That's what I took away from it. And it's a lot of hard work. It's very hard. It's very tedious because they work very hard, and especially the people behind the scenes. The makeup, the hair, um, all the camera people, all the people that work behind the scenes work very, 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 very hard because that's all they're doing is just moving from like one thing to the next. And meanwhile, the actors are just sitting there, twiddling their thumbs. because you're constantly waiting because there's, you know, the camera set up and all these like things, and it's just you have a lot of patience.
Yeah, absolutely. And before you reach that conclusion in 2011 with Hicks, like that the moment you had where you said in the trailer you threw up, what I wanted to discuss another movie you had appeared in prior to that. It was called 51 the movie. So what attracted you to the role in 51 and how did you prepare for that character?
I didn't. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know anything. You know, when I thought I knew about acting, I didn't. I didn't know shoot. I didn't know poop about acting, and I still don't because, like, you know, as a wannabe actress, you know I didn't really learn much more about acting until I finally, you know, was more getting into taking acting classes in college, and really, you know, because all it was is just a desire, a
Mhm.
want, like a hope, a dream, a please, a god, like a, you know, and that all started with being on film finally with Rock of Love. But there wasn't a scratch of the surface of like a deep, like, how do you become a character? How do you prepare for a character when you have one character and that's just like a, you know, whatever, you know, there's just, you know, and you know, those things, you know, you know, I always dreamed about like being able to like go out, you know, become spend like a year with like a mental patient, you know, how to like live their life, you know, drug addict, you know, whatever. And you know that, but you know, just to really understand how to be an actor and really understand how they prepare for their roles, I have no clue. You know, that's something that's still, I don't know. The thing that I do best that I still don't even do best is music. And that's something that I'm still learning. So those things are all, you know, the thing that I always wanted to do in my life was be an actress. But that's, I'm still wanting to be I'm a wannabe actress. So the second I got onto the set of Hick, I thought to myself, this is I was disappointed.
Mhm.
I thought this is nothing that you know that I thought it was gonna be like. And I thought, yeah, you know, because to me, I'm a person that wants instant gratification, and I thought this is, you know, if I'm not the world's best actress in the second that I step on that set, and if everybody's not paying attention to me, and I'm not the greatest, then I don't want to do it. And it takes more than that, you know, to be an actor or an actress, you know, and just like it does to be a musician. And you know, it isn't just like you just get on the screen and you're beautiful. You know, you just get on the screen and you win an Oscar, whatever. There's so much more going on, and it takes a you know, it takes a lot, and especially to develop like characters and to develop character work and to be interesting and to really have something there that makes sense. You know, I don't know how they do that. You know, and to really be something profound or whatever, you know, who knows? But I just remember that day that I like went onto that, you know, they Miss Andrea Portes tossed me a little, you know, tossed me a little script and like, here, read this. And I read it and I got so sick. And I went to the bathroom and I literally threw up. But I never thought in my life I would do that. I thought, you know, here it is, here's my big moment. You know, here, you know, just walk in the door, somebody hand you a little script, you're in a movie with big name actors. You know, you're in a movie with Juliette Lewis, Eric Baldwin, Alec Baldwin, you know, who's starred in freaking Beetlejuice. I didn't see these people, you know, because there's, you know, they have different film days, and I can't even do it. I'm not even grateful. I just go in the bathroom and throw up. But at that time period too, you know, I was just getting with um, you know, I was still in denial about my drug use too. So that you know, because I thought, oh, you know, you go to Hollywood, you have to have a drug problem. So, you know, and that's not you know, so that was, but I genuinely did have stage fright. I was so embarrassed. I didn't even think that existed in myself. I did not even think that existed in myself. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just went to the bathroom and like threw up because I was so scared. And I was horribly embarrassed. And then I got they yelled at me because I was like, whoa. It's, you know, that was the
Yeah.
end of that. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not cut out for it because, you know, I can't even do it. I can't even read
Yeah.
this little petty little part because I'm horribly embarrassed.
It's crazy that they yelled at you, but I guess that was a moment, like you said, you really needed to kind of see like that wasn't for you. I know on your Instagram that you're a big fan of Maisie Star and you actually cover some of their songs. You know, you've covered them yourself on Instagram and posted them. I think you have such a lovely voice, by the way, and I think that the performance is amazing. And Hope Sandoval, the lead singer of that band, I have to read it here, but she says, I always find performing really weird. It's not something that comes naturally to me, and it's not something I'm comfortable with. Yet she still performs. Does any of that resonate with you when it comes to music or performing?
I think it depends on what kind of performing. Yeah, I think like singing, like is like if I stand up and like it depends on the day, but then
Right.
like singing and playing guitar, no, singing and playing guitar are like awful. I'm like it depends on the type of performing, my mood, like if but like or like stand up comedy, like no, I'm not naturally like sitting there like so it
Yeah.
depends on like but do I like to do it? Yeah, of course. If I'm alone to my stuffed an like, to my in my mirror, to my dog. But it depends on the type of performance. Do I like to sing, naturally to people? Yes. Can I do that? Do I like to sing with, in my mind? Do I want to sing with the guitar to people? Yes. Does it come naturally to me? No. It's something I have to work really hard at. But do I want to do it? Yes. There are certain types of performing that I have to work really hard at. To be an actress, I would have to work extra, extra hard because I have certain things about myself that aren't pleasable or aren't cut out to be an actress. To other people, it comes naturally to them. So there's certain things about me that might come more naturally as an actor or whatever that might not for others. But like I have to have better control than somebody else. I move around a lot. I'm super hyper. That's not something good for cameras. People it's a nightmare for some people. As a singer, I'm extra hyper. I'm motivated. I'm like full of energy. That's really good for a performer, but it's not necessarily good for an actress. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's some things that come naturally as a performer that doesn't work for certain types of performers. But as a guitarist, and there's like a little spider like crawling on my
Oh,
sorry.
no,
So,
take your time.
like certain performing things as an entertainer in general come naturally, and then there's other types of performing that doesn't come naturally that I have to work at harder than others, and that's the way that I would say answer that question.
Okay, yeah, no, and I mean, just on the topic of Maisie Star, because I really love, I grew up with a lot of that music playing in the background, and I am a fan as well. And I wanted to ask you, is there a particular Maisie Star song you feel most connected to when you perform it? And what about that song speaks to you the most?
I wouldn't say that I really perform any Mazzy Star song particularly and like good because all I really do is sing like her songs. I really like um you know take take all of me. I really like that one a lot. You know, fade into but I have a really bad memory, so it's really hard for me to remember sometimes some songs. I love a lot of Blue Light, um Flowers in December. I love Fade Into Me is obviously a classic, so that's uh Turn Into Dust, that's a really beautiful one. Um there's so many great songs that I've even yet to even hear or learn from her. She's a really great I speak of that Mazzy Star as if she's a person, but obviously it's a group. Which is, and the person who sings it is Hope Sandoval, who
Yeah.
also has a really good single solo career. It's really good too. Because I used to think that Mazzy Star was a person, obviously, because that's such a beautiful name, like Mazzy Star. If I could change my name to anything, it'd be like Mazzy Star. But it's so she has a lot. She has a lot of really beautiful music. I love they. That's right, they. Their pronouns are she. I'm changing it now. They have a lot of beautiful music that I've yet to still, Swan is my favorite, was one of my favorite albums. So it's a great, just like folky, like very, very feminine, very it's not like angry or anything. It's just like whimsical, like really it's like totally like me, like my personality, like whimsical, not really like about it's just like I don't even know how to describe their like their lyrics are just so cool. Like I don't know, I just love them. They're so beautiful. Like just like they just sing about like it's not even it's just I don't know how to describe like what she's singing about. She's just singing about things that are like she's not really heartbroken, but she's just kind of like I don't know, like it's just
Yeah,
cool. I love it. I love the stuff that she sings about. It's very ethereal, kind of dark, but not like too dark. You know, um, kind of pagany, but like not like witchy-ish, but not like too. Really cool vibe. It's just I love it. It's very seasony. I really like it. It's one of my favorite. They're one of my favorite bands. You know,
I think you, sorry, I just didn't want to cut you off, but I think you are really on point. It's funny is a lot of people describe their music the same way, and that's actually why they're so popular is because there's nothing really to pinpoint. It's
yeah,
for everyone to articulate, right? And
yeah,
my next question actually ties into that is Hope Sandoval. She once said that when creating music, it's more about putting emotion and feeling
yeah.
into it rather than conveying a particular message. Since you've
Mhm.
covered her music, whether you're just strumming to yourself in your room, like you said, or not, what does this approach mean to you as an artist, and how does it influence your own interpretations of her song?
Yeah, that I agree, like 100% agree with that because and that's what always kind of like sucked because I'm not always trying to convey like a message. It's always just like a feeling and emotions, like what's happening with me. And what kind of sucks, I'm like my emotion and feeling is always like sad or like a heartbreak. I'm like, oh, can you get on? But yeah, because it comes from my soul. Always, it's always from the heart. It's always from like if it doesn't move me, then how can it move anybody else? You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
And that's why I really resonate with their music because it's so like I'm just like, oh, you know.
No, and I agree with you. It really does speak for itself. And like you said, again, up for its own interpretation, which could be really anything where, like you said, it will go based off of how you're feeling. Really.
Yeah, it's just really good and it just has a good instrumental, you know, stuff behind it too. The instruments going along with it, are very beautiful. It's a very beautiful like set of composed music. And the best thing that I love about it most is that you can strip it down with just an acoustic guitar, and I think that's important. Me and one of my old bandmates that I used to when I was first writing my first song to go on tour, it was sorry my voice is all raspy, but it was like, okay, well, how do you like, there's really no formula to say, like, how do you write a good song? You really can't. It's hard to say that because the industry is always changing. You'll never be able to, like, the industry is always one step ahead or like two steps ahead. So you can never be like, how do you write a hit song? Because it's like, you can't really, go around your whole career, chasing like how to write a hit song. You'll spend your whole life going insane or career. So, the best thing to do is just like know that like your song, if you strip it all down and it to the like to the bones, and you can like play it with at least you and a guitar, then you got like at least something decent. And that's what we always or what I always tried to do. So if you can like at least play it with like or sing it like on its own with nothing else but a guitar, then you got something to work with, and that's what I always try to like do. Because even if it's like a crazy electronic like whatever, it's like you can't always take that stuff on tour. That's gonna be really difficult to like take. Yes, it might sound really cool, like in your studio with like a bunch of like multi-billion-dollar whatever, but like how are you gonna get it on tour? If you gotta take that on tour, and you could if you're like Madonna, but if you're not Madonna, you gotta think about those. I'm not Madonna. So like,
Yeah.
I was like, how do I do this? How do I make a song if I don't have a lot of money? Some of my songs I've had to make in the bathroom of my, of like a friend's, spare bedroom. because that's how I made one of my albums, because I don't have money. I'm poor. So, get to work. You better learn how to play that guitar. And if it sounds good on its own with a guitar, just you and your guitar, then you might maybe have something. I don't know. Hopefully. That's the only thing I could ever say about it.
Yeah, and going into a little bit of like your background, your passion with music, and your time in your band Black Star Electra. What I saw your video for the song Monster, and I actually, like others in the comments, really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Can you tell me what that song meant to you when you perform it, or when going into making that song? Like, what does it represent for you?
That song at that time was, a representation of, basically when you fall in love, or like when you get really close with people, or anyone in general, and it's like, maybe you suffer from like mental illnesses, and it's like people don't want to understand. They just want to like be like, look at you like you're a monster. And so they're like, they don't want to understand that, not every day is going to be like sunshine and rainbows. And so some days I might be, sunshine and rainbows, but like some days I might, and that's no excuse, of course. But then people look at you like, oh my God, you're a crazy monster. Here comes a monster. So like, let's persecute you. Let's get our pitchforks, and like, you know, let's point the finger at you, because we can't, instead of understanding you, and trying to like break it down of like, and it's more like in a relationship, instead of the other person saying like, why are you acting like this? What's wrong? How can I sit you down and say, why are you hurt? What's the hurt? What's the pain? Like, what's the outcry? And that's no reason. It doesn't justify like your behavior. But sometimes people, like, oftentimes when they act out, there's a pain, there's an underlying like hurt. Like, anger is often, the secondary like emotion is pain, is hurt, is sadness. Is like there's a cry for like help underneath that. And instead of like pointing your finger and like rallying against them, like, understand that there might be a secondary emotion, and that's that maybe you've hurt their feelings, maybe they're hurting and they need you in that moment. So, get maybe try to seek to understand,
I think that's
instead of being
really.
like, oh, you're a monster, you're this, you're that. Maybe be like, okay, this person might need a little bit of compassion right now.
I'm really glad I asked because, obviously, when you listen to a song, as we were just discussing, you can have your own perception of it. And I thought it was more so like in relationships, and dealing with maybe an abusive partner, and not saying like you specifically, singing the song, but just how I was resonating with it. And I would have never thought that. So I really appreciate you clarifying that, because I think it is a topic that needs some attention for sure. And my next question for you, while we're kind of in music, is who are your top three favorite artists or bands when it comes to music? If you had to list three.
Um, right now, I'm really into I'm like really into Alanis Morissette right now.
Oh, okay.
I love Grimes. She's really cool right now, and I love Lana Del Rey. Those are, and I love Bjork too. It's really hard to like list three, because I go through phases of different artists. I love the Beatles. I love classical music. I love listening to new different types of music. And then sometimes I don't even like listening to music at all. I'm just like, oh. But I love all kinds of music. There's not, you know, music is just, I find music in every single thing. Like, even sounds that are not even music. I'm constantly, but yeah, I'm really into, I'm really like liking Alanis Morissette right now, which is weird because she's like, like 20 years ago or something. almost 40, maybe even like 35 years ago. I don't know. So yeah, like I'm Alanis Morissette kick right now. So
If I may say so, 30 years or not, she still slaps. She
yeah,
still slaps.
I think that's the beauty about art and music and everything is that movies, art, in general, paintings, clothing, anything like that. You can always it's out there for ever, and you can rediscover it. You can discover it for the first time, and I think that's beautiful. That's what makes it really beautiful.
Agreed, agreed. I think it is timeless. It never has it's never marked, right? It's just timeless.
Even books.
Yes.
Books
Yes.
never get any credit. Books we can't forget books.
Agreed,
You gotta
agreed.
like throw those books in there.
Agreed. And take it a step further, like fashion. Everyone looks around and they're like,
Yeah,
damn.
fashion's overrated though, but important things like books and
So I was hoping you would mention Grimes because I am also a fan of Grimes music. And since you are, I wanted to ask, what is it about her style, especially as an artist, that resonates with you?
I don't know. She just has I don't know. I just resonate with her. I resonated with her in during COVID. I discovered her, and I really liked the fact that well, it started like when I discovered that like Elon Musk like dated her, and I thought that was neat because here's this like ultra rich like billionaire nerdy guy, and instead of like the nerdy guy dating like the typical like perfect cookie cutter person like he's supposed to, he's dating this like cool like ultra artistic tattooed like wildly like different um artist who happens to be like super eccentric, but also really smart and like extraordinarily like genius. And then also she does come from a good family though. She's actually like, but like on the DL, but she's very very smart and eccentric and like really musically like genius. And then doesn't isn't anything like complete polar opposite. And I thought that was like really cool. And then I like decided that I liked Elon Musk just because of that. And then I became like fascinated with her. But then I started listening to her music and watching her videos, and I was just like smitten with her. Like I was fascinated with her. I couldn't stop watching her as like she was beautiful on screen. She was beautiful on screen to watch because she's gorgeous. And she really just knew what she was doing. And her music just really spoke to me. Like it just vibe. It's really good music. And I just dove into her entire catalog. And I actually discovered she had a song named called Vanessa, so I thought that was even cooler. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so but I really do like her music. Violent. Um, she has Shimmy Gimme Eyes, and she's a very good artist. She knows what she's doing, and I like her music, and it's different. It's different. It's very unique, and it's very artistic, and she does it all of herself. It's and she's a creative genius, and I like that. And so it just vibed with me. I don't know. I can't really tell. It just spoke to me at a time that I was like going through some weird thing, and it just like spoke to me. Like it like cosmically like spoke to me, and I was like yes, and it like got me through like all this like pain that I was going through. Like it was there for me, like music is supposed to be. It did
Yeah.
its it did exactly what it was supposed to do. As an artist, she succeeded. As an artist and as what music's supposed to do, she attained for me, she did exactly what music is supposed to do for us. And so that's why I liked it.
No, that's amazing. And I was gonna say, fun fact, her and Elon actually had a baby.
Yeah, they had two babies, like two little kids, and
Oh,
I
they
was
have
all
two now.
yeah, and I thought because I was like cheering them on because I liked the fact that they were like total polar opposites. They reminded me of like me and this guy that I was dating, and I supported that like, like he was from this like different world, And I loved that because you don't see that very often, and I really believed in that, and I thought I like that gave me hope for like different types of love in this in the you know the sort of like the aristocratic world of like of love, so I thought that was
Yeah.
cool. I thought the entire thing about her was just really cool, and I related to her so much, especially in the last couple of years where my life has gone and what I was going through. She just cosmically like was in sync with me, so I thought that was really cool. And I don't know, the universe she just crossed my cosmically vibe in my way, and like I just thought she was cool. So I think she's a cool um artist, and I'm glad that I came across her music and her life, and she really gave me a lot of inspiration. A lot. Yeah.
That's really dope. I wanted to clarify with you just to ensure, do you mean like the stereotype where it's kind of like, yeah, the billionaire with the like magazine picture perfect model? Yeah.
Yeah, like perfect. Like instead, she's like cool and like totally artistic, and like tattoos and like the un the underground like kind of person. And I think that that's really cool.
So, and speaking of tattoos, your tattoo sleeve is a tribute to A Nightmare Before Christmas, directed by Tim Burton. Does it symbolize your love for the movie, Tim Burton's work, or both?
Both. Well, I couldn't put I decided to choose one thing that I liked about one particular piece of art that Tim Burton did, and that was Nightmare Before Christmas. Of course I'm a huge fan of Tim Burton's work, but that was the particular piece that I chose to put on my arm. And I did meet Tim Burton once, and showed it to him, and he was very Tim Burton about it, but he was very nice, and he was you know I'm very humble about it, and I was very lucky and grateful to meet him. He was a very nice man.
Wow. Where did you get the opportunity to bump into him? Where was that?
It was in a hotel in Japan.
No way, when you were like traveling
Yeah, I
abroad.
was traveling. I was with an ex-boyfriend, and he just happened to be there in Japan at a he was there for his exhibition. He had an exhibition, or sorry, his artwork.
Right.
When he was touring, I think it was back in 2015, 14 or 15, and he just happened to be there at like the Hilton or something like that, and or the Hyatt or something, and I was lucky enough to bump into him and show him my tattoo, and he was like, I was like, yeah, he was like, all right, I gotta go. Like, thank
Yeah,
you.
he's known to be kind of shy in the
Yeah,
most nicest way, but he's
yeah,
very,
he's very humble, very cool guy, and he's very gracious enough to and so I was very lucky and privileged enough to say to like, he's a very nice man to be able to come over and say hello. So, yeah, I feel very, very lucky. But
no,
like, what a
very,
neat experience. Never in my lifetime did I ever think that I would get the tattoo and then he would then be able to see it. Never. So that was very lucky, and I feel very privileged. Like, he's like, yeah, yeah, great, I gotta go. But like, that was very nice of him. Very, very nice. That was very lucky.
right. No, and it's so true. I mean, yeah, there's so many people who get like their idols or people, their things they're fans of, right? Interest in tattooed on them, and it just is, it goes unseen, basically. So I think that's so cool. And before we segue from music, I was just curious. I know you're super into karaoke, and I love karaoke. So I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind. So I wanted to know, what are your top three go-to songs? Like, let me set the scene. You're at the karaoke bar, you're about to walk up. What are you telling the DJ to set up for you? What three songs come to mind?
Um, Creep, probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Probably something by um Nirvana, and then like Taylor Swift.
Okay, good choices. Those are easy to come by and super, super nice to get along with. I feel like it depends where you go. Sometimes they don't have the songs you're looking for.
Yeah, you don't want to make it like too crazy. That's like later on in the night when you're like, then you're getting like super like, okay. But
Yeah.
I probably just do like one and then that's it, because I tend to get like super like, all right, let's do like 50, but no, probably just like one and then that's it.
I saw on your Instagram. I was just curious. You posted a photo of a shirt that said "To Tom, Love Vanessa." Was it okay? My eyesight's so bad. Forgive me. And I tried to zoom in. Was it Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise?
Tom Hanks. It's
Tom
funny.
Hanks.
No, it was Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. I thought.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me about?
Tom Hanks.
Well,
That's funny. That's
no,
like that's hilarious. I didn't think anyone would think it was Tom Hanks. That's funny.
okay, and I have bad eyesight, so please do not take that like take it as a grain of salt. I was like, is it? I was like, who is that? But tell me about your love for him. What was the first movie you saw him in? What drew your attention to him as as a fangirl?
I don't really. I just really extra love Tom Cruise.
I got
That's
you.
all.
I got you. Okay.
I love all Tom Cruise movies. I extra love Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
And the first movie that I saw Tom Cruise in was Legend when I was like 5 years old. So Legend, Ridley Scott's Legend, really good movie. It has Tim Curry in it. It's a very beautiful movie. The cinematography is unbelievable. It has it was made in filmed in England, and it is absolutely stunning. It's a very beautiful storyline. And when I saw that movie, and it wasn't necessarily about Tom Cruise, it was just that was the first movie that I saw him in, and I was just like, when I saw that movie, I was just like, wow. I think that when I saw that movie, that's part of me. That's when I was like, I definitely want to be in movies. That's that movie and The Lost Boys. Seeing those because of the cinematography and just seeing those storylines and thinking to myself like, I want to be in those worlds. I think it was more like being escaped into those worlds because those were such, different like worlds. Like where is that world? Those that like fairy tale like world of like these like especially that like scene in the movie in Legend where it like turns to snow, and like to me that was like a beautiful like escape of like reality because I dealt with a lot of like trauma in my life, so like a lot of escapism and stuff to me was beautiful. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go there, take me there, like take me there with that unicorn, and what, but that was one of the first movies that I saw him in, and I really liked that a lot. So yeah,
I
and as an
had
actor, that's he was a really good actor. But I really had a thing for Lily in that movie. I think she was a beautiful character, stunning, masterpiece of a dress, and the scene where she is dancing with the devil I think to me, I was mesmerized by that moment. I was as a child, I was 5 years old, and I was just thinking like, you know, just like wow, I kind of want to dance with the devil. And I know that's like weird to say as a 5 year old, but like I was mesmerized into that moment because it was such a great scene, such a great scene in fantasy.
Yeah, Legend was a great movie for its time. I had the opportunity of seeing it as well, and I get what you mean about escaping. I think that also is a part of like movies in the beginning was drawing people in, creating a different reality within a reality. And for me, that was Narnia. I was like, "Where's the closet? Let me go."
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, and yeah, it's kind of like this. They're like I don't really remember seeing Narnia, but it's almost like the same thing where you're like going into this world. I do like snowy worlds, so I don't know. Like I'm all about like snow worlds. But those are the kind of like yeah, the same kind of thing. Especially if you're like a child that like suffers from like a trauma and like you're looking for those escapisms sometimes. So, but to me those movies were I like I do like darker types of sense of movies. So those were that movie was like but that was the first time I ever saw Tom Cruise, and I wasn't really paying too much attention to like you know him as like I thought he was very fascinating in the movie, but
No,
it
I got
wasn't. I just thought he was a fascinating actor.
Gotcha. And I was gonna say for Narnia, if you are ever able to check it out, it does have a snow queen in there. So there's some pretty cool snow worlds. I'm just putting you on, and she's got amazing attire. Oh my goodness, this lady, she makes me jealous. But I was gonna say, speaking of movies, you're very involved into your cinema. So I wanted to ask, what are some movies you'd recommend to fans looking to explore beyond mainstream films? I know you're into movies like the Heathers and The Craft, which is another personal favorite of mine. So, what kind of movies would you recommend to those wanting to explore beyond mainstream films?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a lot of time to like sit down and watch movies because that's not something that I really like do a lot or like, really. But in my yeah, yesteryears when I ever had time to do that, I'm into like underground type films and films that maybe aren't necessarily popularized, and so films that are like not really popular, like sort of like like Magnolia, for instance, for like a Tom Cruise film or something. But um, Emily is a good film. Um, there's so many people who haven't seen like so many good films, like Doomsday for like with you know God, I can't even remember her name. There's so many really good films out there that Tank Girl, amazing films, Donnie Darko, all these sets of like underground sort of like what like I hate to use the word, they're not like beef and films, but like I just really love those kinds of films. Those are my kind of favorite films. I'm not like I do love cinema. I do love darker cinema. I know that people are going to be excited about the new Joker coming out, and I'm actually kind of excited about it too. Those are the kind of films that I like. And but there's there's so many great films in this world. If I could be a part of my hair, well, my hair's like all pretty good. If I could be like a part of something astonishing like that, because there's so much great art. I like to call it art, cinema art. There's so much great cinema and art in this world. Who am I to say? Who am I to say? I don't know. There's a vast like I know my dear friend Corey Feldman. He's come out with a movie. It's called The Birthday, and so I know that's out in theaters. That's a great film. That he's worked on very hard. There's tons of beautiful art. There's tons of beautiful films. Lots of independent artists work on every day. There's exquisite films out there all over the place. Go check them out. I don't know. Who am
Yeah,
I? I'm. What do I know?
no, and just curious. But by the way, I love Tank Girl as well. If I Before we move on from that, what about Tank Girl that do you really enjoy?
I love the idea of the world that she lives in. This world where she's like living, where one like her outfits are like freaking like the riders part obviously, but she's living in this world where it's like post-apocalyptic world, like my dream world that I've like waited for my whole life. Where it's like all you're like living in this like world where you have to make your outfits. You're like everything's punk rock. It's not really anarchy because anarchy is kind of like it doesn't really exist. Like just because it's so but it's like it's like all right, here it is now. It's like it's like the big F you to the man now. So we're all like, we she's driving a tank for Christ's sakes. So, she's like, and Jet Girl. I love Jet Girl. Jet Girl is like, I used to like really like Tank Girl too, but then Jet Girl is underrated. Like Jet Girl is cool as heck. Because she's like super smart. So she's like, she's like, I'm Jet Girl. She's like the quiet one, but and it's just a like world where it's just like, you're like F the you finally had it. You're finally like woken up, or some people have, like she has. She's the one. She's the like the underdog savior with the freaking kangaroo, like who's like, and she's like, enough is enough. We gotta like take back, like, and it's an Australian based like comic book, so it's like, the Australians are always like badass, and 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 in England and stuff like that. So they have like a different perspective of like, the things, because it's like the way that like they, it's a different mentality. They're
Yeah.
always like F you, So, and it's just a different like way of life. I don't know.
I agree with you. I think it definitely, if I may take what you're saying a little step further, I agree. Like post-apocalyptic settings are somewhat like appeasing because everyone is leveled with each other. There
Yeah,
is,
it's like a game. It's a little bit of a wars game. It's not something that I'm like, but it's like there's no real rules. It's just that like it's all for one. It's a free for all almost. It's finally like we don't have to sit there and like, okay, everybody, we're gonna all go to bed at 8. We're gonna set our alarms. Wake up at 10 or whatever. We're gonna eat a little breakfast. We're gonna pay our little outfit. We're gonna go to the office at like the briefcase. It's just like no, it's no holds bars. Pick your best outfit. Wear that thing for like till it falls off. Get your hair like cool, and like that's it. And like then we're gonna get your best boots on, and like now we're like it's do or die, because this is it, and like we have a purpose now. We like there's like a goal, there's a purpose. We all know what it is now. We're not wandering around like sad, like we know what we need to do or something. Like it's not just like this like get up, go to work, go to bed. Like it's like there's like some action. Like if there's excitement now, like there's like something going on that's like for a bigger cause. It's just
right.
not like this lame like watch TV, watch your football, like you know
Yeah, it's broken the cycle.
yeah, like you're finally like we finally woke up, we finally like did it or something. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
in some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't make sense. When I was a kid, I always wanted anarchy. Oh my God. I was just like anarchy. But even in anarchy, as I got older, I realized there has to be some type of structure. There can't, even in bartering systems and stuff like that, eventually it comes back down to like, as humans will always, there will always have to be some type of like system. So eventually it's like, well, what kind of systems, are you going to have? Even in, when democracy first started coming, they're questioning, Socrates constantly, like, well, Socrates, if you think you're so, smart, then what kind of world and city would you build? So that's sort of like, and that was the downfall of Socrates, but so you know, we have to do things in a sophisticated, um, civilized way in life. So we can't all go around acting as if that's going to be the case because it's just not, obviously.
Yeah. We can only dream.
Right. Only in the movies we can do that, obviously. So we can only act like that barbarically in the movies or whatever. But in real life, it's just not going to be realistic. There's way too many people. Obviously, there's 8 billion people in the world. There's obviously there's grounds for change and things can be different, but it's just, and there's things that resonate with certain societies and certain cultures, and we can take from that and we can integrate it, but it's not going to be something that's going to be like realistically like, and who knows? I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe in the future we don't know. I don't know. But there's things that we can take into consideration, perhaps. I don't know. Because some things do resonate with our souls, with some culture souls, of course. Um, but I don't know what the future holds. So
Totally. We all don't, safe to say.
right.
But I wanted to go back to Corey for just a moment. I saw on your Instagram that Corey is currently housing your dog Faith. How did you and Corey first, come to meet, and how did your relationship evolve from there?
I met Corey a long time ago, back in 2008 when I first came to California. I was born in California, of course, but when I first came after living in Colorado for quite some time, growing up there, and we just naturally, connected as friends, and we've been friends and close family for quite some time, and he helped me get sober and this year and stay sober, and as a part of being, close family and someone who I trust very deeply and who's had my back for a really long time, I've been lucky enough that he's been able to help me in that process with some of the things that I need help with, and that includes my dog. So
And I'm glad he's there for you as well. And also, just having fur babies myself, you have a little dog named Faith, and that's for the record spelled for the viewers, sorry, spelled Fayth. What inspired that name and its unique spelling?
Um, she actually came with that name because she's a rescue dog.
Oh, okay.
So my, she's a rescue dog, and into my personal relationship that she's from that a previous relationship, and so you know, that so we just keep that like that.
It's so funny because I did the same thing with my cat Sabrina. So I want to ask you, when before, or I don't know, before you got her, or as you were leading up to getting Faith, did you have any other names you wanted to possibly rename her with?
Yeah, I did actually. I was like, oh, like I want to call her like Nala or something, but I mean, I call her different names all the time, but
Yeah,
yeah, I decided to keep her as Faith. So
that's really pretty, and the spelling is really pretty too. You go out and partake in a lot of activities provided by either the public or certain establishments, and you just create the coolest things. So I wanted to ask you, what's a hobby like you have that your fans might be surprised to learn about?
I,
Could be anything that you enjoy.
I like to well, I like right now currently I go to going to church.
That's good.
Going to church, going to the library, reading, you know, just trying to get my life together mostly right now. So it's not really a hobby, but bike riding. I like to ride my bike a lot. I like to um run. I love running. Running is actually annoying to me, but I freaking hate it actually. Like it's annoying at first, but then I like, once I start doing it, then I'm like, all right, you know. But running maybe, mm, collecting sweaters. Oh, drawing. I mean, there's not really. I don't know. I don't know what would surprise anybody, to be honest with you.
Well, I
You
was
know.
gonna I was gonna say your paintings are filled with a lot of contrast and are really impressive. I know that you paint and
Those
sketch
things
and
are so stupid.
huh?
Those things are so stupid.
Oh my
Those are
goodness!
the worst. I'm like the worst painter like ever. I'm like when I look at myself as like an artist or anything, I think of myself as like the least, like in the family of artists, or like in the family of people like my friends. I'm like down here like the baby of like they're
I
like
don't think
like
so.
these people, and then I'm like yeah. No. I loved bird watching.
That's fun and it's relaxing. What have you spotted in your area thus far? Anything new or just the usual?
Just tons of uh crows. The crows like follow me around a lot. I talk to birds a lot.
You did mention that in your last video, and I was gonna say, do you have like a log? Like do you like to what extent do you take that hobby?
I just it's not really like a hobby. It's like a lifestyle.
Well, I was gonna say, I know you feel that you're very like minute on the hierarchy. I know you just gave us a ranking, but I want to say I feel that they're very impressive, and I wanted to know what inspires your work, and is there any particular pattern or style you're drawn to when it comes to expressing yourself through painting or drawing, anything of that sort?
No, I'm not. I'm not very gifted or versed. I just do it as a hobby, really. Like anyone. It's just. I like to try and now, maybe like learn, just get it out. I don't know. I like to put a lot of collages together. That's what I like to do. I like collage stuff. I don't know why. I love collage.
Yeah.
And, yeah, collage stuff is one of my favorite things. So I try to explore out of the collage zone. That's my like. I'm like, get out of the collage zone. Like try to like, think of something, that's like out of the collage. Like at first it was like, where people like you go to the paint night and you copy what they're doing. I moved out of that zone and now I'm into like the collage zone, but now I'm like trying to get out of the collage zone.
I wanted to ask you in 2013 you performed with I Candy Burlesque. What did you enjoy most about that experience and how did you get involved with that group?
Um, I was really lucky. Again, like everything I've ever done, I'm really, really blessed and lucky and grateful. And just by chance and chances, when preparation meets meets opportunity. So, I'm really glad that I was, able to be a part of that. I loved, the performing, of course. Obviously, every single night, getting up on the stage, being able to perform is the best part. The rehearsing, the, just, I mean, the being there, obviously, every night. There's not one thing I didn't like about it. The thing I didn't like about it was at the end of the night when it was over.
Yeah, it was
know,
done.
like when it was like, oh, that's it, and like, ah, boom, and you're like, go home, and you're like, now what do I do? It's like, oh, so that was the part, and then then when it was over, obviously I didn't like that. So those are the parts that I didn't like.
Oh, and it was such a sight to see. I watched a couple of recorded performances from the past, and you were just, I mean, oh my goodness, you are a show woman. You really are.
Those people are those dancers and those performers have been they were performing in Vegas their whole lives. They've been dancers doing dance their whole entire life. I just barely even could barely even like make a coordinated step together and sing. Those people really know what they're doing.
And what was your favorite song to perform?
Oh, geez, I don't really know. I liked them all. But I really, then I didn't. I did like Proud Mary, a lot.
By
Mm,
Tina Turner
yeah,
or
that was a really good
yeah.
one. That was fun. Joan Jett was good. I liked, the ones that I could sing. Yeah. Because sometimes, I was like, oh man, I can't sing this song tonight. My voice is limited sometimes. Well, back then, especially because I was just like, it's hard. It's hard to sing in Vegas because it's really dry there. So,
Well, you for the gig, you were a great singer. I mean, I think that they chose really great talent to help uphold the show and to perform and the costumes. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
those costumes were nice. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, as a performer, you enjoy those things. You enjoy getting ready. You enjoy every night, like the anticipation. You get there and you some nights are better than others. Because it sucks sometimes when you don't feel like. I mean, it's like. I mean, there's not really one night that you don't go when I don't go to a thing and I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I'm like, that's what I live for.
Yeah.
You get to go out and you get to go, especially singing and performing and you're sort of just like that's what I get up to go out to do. Like, like what do I like, otherwise what's the point of getting up and doing anything that day for me?
Yeah.
I don't know about anybody else, but just like, and then on top of it, getting paid, I felt like Marilyn Monroe. I was reading like Marilyn Monroe books about how like, she was like, living in a house or they paid for her like little rent and stuff. And I was like, that's me, except that singing. Of course it wasn't, but like, and like I had a little dog, but and the reality, yeah, the reality is I was living in, it was fun. It wasn't the best place to live, but like, it was so exciting. I was so excited to get paid to do that. I was stoked. I was stoked. I
No,
couldn't
I
even
mean,
believe it. I couldn't even believe it. I mean, it was like I couldn't even believe it. I get up every morning. I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this.
and I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, it seemed like a very incredible opportunity, and the fact that you were getting paid for it seemed like a wonderful commitment to stick with. And how long did that go for?
It lasted like 3 months. You
Okay.
as a guest artist, you do like get little guest spots in Vegas as typical residencies for some people. Especially at like my level. Like my level, I'm lucky I even lasted like one day.
Oh my goodness. No, at the time you were like, yeah, you were on everyone's TV, you were on magazines, you were in your own photo shoots. I mean, those were being distributed, I mean, you were definitely such a sight to see. I'm sure a lot of people really enjoyed your performances. And circling back to Marilyn Monroe, I want to start off by asking, what is it that you admire about her? What inspires you about her and her, whether it's just her entirely as a figure or her journey? What is it that really calls to you?
I enjoy like any other person who's a fan of her. I think that she just her childlike spirit, she's profoundly sensitive. She loves her art. She's in love with with art, like anyone else who would be in this industry. She doesn't give up. She, despite her critics, she's dedicated to her craft. She's all she wants to do is be loved. But
Yeah.
she's very serious about what she does, and she's and that's what's more. She loves the camera, and she loves being a woman. She loves being beautiful, and she loves the attention. And but at the end of the day, again, all she wants to do is be loved, because she didn't have that as a child, and she didn't have that and that sense of being on camera, and that sense of being a sort of you know having uh being a character and being larger than life, in these moments. Those are the those are those personalities. That's something that's beautiful for her.
And do you feel like that? And I'm just asking. Let me know if this gets too personal. Personal is do you feel like you resonate with that in a
No,
way?
I don't. I'm not Marilyn Monroe. I couldn't even come close to Marilyn Monroe.
Oh no, yeah, sorry, not, let me specify, not I guess like the fame or the popularity, but more so just like wanting to be loved through her work, or just having, again, because I've looked into her in regards to like doing a crime time murder mystery video on her passing and everything leading up to that. And yeah, she did have a very, very difficult childhood where her mother was neglectful, her father wasn't really in the picture. Do you resonate on any kind of level within that regard?
Yeah, sure, I do. I think a lot of artists do. We're not, obviously we all have our own story, but I think a lot of artists do. A lot of people in this industry have similar backgrounds. It's what makes us, some of us, particularly connected in these ways, or whatnot, or just good at what we do, or whatever. I don't know. I think, and a lot of people are just a lot, and why a lot of people out there resonated with Marilyn Monroe in general, because they're like, that's me too, or we feel the same, or have the same sort of thing, and of course, we can resonate with her.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, I guess it just depends how you look at it, like you're saying, or where you're coming from as far as background. And other than Marilyn, are there any other old Hollywood actors or films that inspire you? And what do you like most about them?
I love, of course, old Hollywood. I love Charlie Chaplin. I love the 20s. I'm really huge fan of movies from the 90s. I love movies that have you know movies that are from like Martin Scorsese, movies that are really sort of gritty and real. I like Woody Allen films that are sort of like weird and artsy. I'm a huge fan of movies that are just real life, really just like real life kind of movies that are, you don't really see, I don't know, those types of films. I grew up with that kind of genre, those type of genres, Sally Met Harry kind of movies. Chevy Chase, like Chevy Chase kind of funny comedies, and um,
Like
I,
the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
there was, no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say like the Three Stooges. I don't know. Or
I
like
feel like
clean
it's
it.
my hair. Yeah, like,
Sorry.
oh yeah, like slapstick comedy is funny, stuff like that is funny. I love comedy. I love comedy. I think that's hilarious. I think you can't take yourself too seriously, so that's always a good thing to do. I love comedy. The comedy's hilarious. I love to laugh. Comedy is my favorite. I don't think there's enough comedy out there, and there's too much sadness in the world, so too much crying. So speaking, my hair looks like the Three Stooges right now, anyway. So
Oh, stop. Oh my goodness, stop.
like,
No, I love your
yeah, I
hair.
love Hollywood so much. I love those old just I love I've never really been like big into like romantic movies. Like I'm not like a huge romantic person. Like if I have their like Winona Ryder, stuff like that. I love like her films. I love, Girl Interrupted. That obviously, those kinds of like '90s kind of like stuff like that. But in horror films, I like the horror films.
And I was gonna ask you, do you have any interest or any liking to any comedians today? Like, do we?
I love all kinds of comedians. I don't really know any comedians that are like familiar with me today, but I liked like Eddie Murphy. I loved Dave Chappelle. Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, um, all those people from like the '70s and like Saturday Night Live. Those people are freaking hilarious. Dan Aykroyd, freaking all those people. They're hilarious. Like those people are like those are great comedians. Like you can't um uh uh George Carlson, like all those people, they're hilarious.
Sorry, I was gonna say that's a pretty solid bunch there. Yeah, that's a pretty good selection.
Yeah,
But
Sarah Silverman, like all kinds of people. Like we gotta throw some women in there too. So there's a lot. I love just like funny people. I love funny people are probably like my favorite. Cause like Jerry Seinfeld, you gotta like be like to be like funny is probably like the hardest thing too. That's like the
yes,
hardest.
yes, it takes a lot of skill.
I try to be funny. Like, I can't be funny. It's like the hardest thing. It's the hardest.
I'm the same way. I don't think it's natural. It's forced.
Like I can be funny as in like stupid, it's like really dumb, but like yeah, funny is like my thing. I love funny. Like if you're like, I think like to me, like I think of you as funny if you're like genius to me, like in my eyes, if you're funny, because that's like the hardest thing to do. People who
You,
are actually funny are like,
they can
yeah,
get anywhere.
yeah, exactly. They can get anywhere. Those little jerks.
Seriously, they can make people laugh and help work their way up the ladder just by jokes. I mean, it's happened
I
so
love
many
it.
times.
I love those people. Those are like the golds.
I agree. And Vanessa, I mean, that's all the questions I have for you today. And I just wanted to say thank you again for joining me for part two. And I know, as we discussed in the beginning, in messages, I know you're busy, so I honestly didn't really know how you felt coming into this. As we had mentioned, even somewhere in the beginning, I wanted to flip it just straight to more so you. I mean, I hope you can understand, and I don't mean it in a most negative way, but people were complaining and upset that I didn't sit here and rehash old drama with you in regards to the show. And I just didn't want to focus on that because again, so many the joke is like everyone and their moms, right, is like out here doing interviews solely focusing on that. And I feel like if people want to hear it, I mean, go support that channel and that video and go watch that. But again, just more so focus on you and your interests. So I really appreciate your time and thank you. That was all I had for you today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm like I get like really nervous to do like interviews. Like I was like really nervous. So so I appreciate you taking the time and wanting to do that and thank you. So thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you and have a good day.
Okay, you too.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.